Welcome to OmnTV. I'm Bob Guest, the producer, and today's host. Right now I'm standing in front of the American Clock and Watch Museum on the corner of Woodland and Maple, right here in Bristol, Connecticut. In a few minutes we'll be going inside to talk to Colleen DeCastro, the Director of Interpretation, and she'll be taking us a tour throughout the facility. I want to give a little in-depth on the building that's behind me at this moment. It was initially owned by Miles Lewis and his wife is Binda Peck. I'll get my mouth working. Who happened to be the daughter of Josiah and Jemima Peck. Now, those are not your typical female names that I'm aware of. So at this point, before we go inside, we're going to be putting our first performer on the air by the name of David Diem. He's from southern France. The song that he'll be performing is titled, Is There? Enjoy.
Typing down the message, getting back to you. It took me such a long time to make it through. I was looking for the sunshine, holding on to the blue. It took me long just to find a light. I was like, is there a light? Where is the light? Is there anyone? Typing down the message, getting back to you. Took me such a long time to make it through. I know I was looking for the sunshine, holding on to the blue. It took me long, just a long time, just to find a light.
Hi, I'm here to see Castro.
I'm right here.
Oh, hi, Phil. How are you? Good to see you.
Welcome to the Clock Museum.
Wasn't too hard to find, but can you elaborate what this place basically is all about?
Well, we are the American Clock and Watch Museum, and we're located on historic Federal Hill in Bristol. And many people ask when they come, why is there a clock museum in Bristol?
So why is there a clock here in Bristol? A clock museum here in Bristol?
We're actually here because at one point in time, the Bristol area was the world center of clock manufacturing.
Nice. Can I buy one?
Well, you can't buy anything here, although we do have some timepieces for sale in the gift shop. But our collection actually fulfills our mission, which is to preserve and promote the American-made clock and watch to the general public. But one of the things that our international visitors ask, again, is how did we come to be? Why? Okay, so I've told you that Bristol was once the world center of clock manufacturing.
Correct.
But how did the museum come to be? Edward Ingram, actually president of the Ingram Clock Company at one time, was noticing after World War II that there was a shift in the industry. If you recall, during wartime, many of the companies were called upon by the government to produce wartime pieces. And in town here, they were producing actually timing devices for bombs. So when it came to the expense of retooling after the war, Edward thought it was going to be a great investment, but let's look at what's going on in the industry. And since we were actually importing more affordable clocks from foreign countries, he was noticing that there was a shift. There was a shift in less of a call for American-made and more of a call for the more affordable foreign-made clocks. So, taking this concern to a number of his business associates in town, he came up with the idea that perhaps we should meet to discuss this shift. And what should we do about it? Because if something isn't done about it, then the history and heritage of this region will be lost forever. So he called them together, and they had a meeting at the local town club, which was a gentleman's club in town, which is now actually the DuPont Funeral Home. And they met there, and the outcome of that meeting was that they would actually start a museum. They talked about perhaps putting a contemporary museum out on Route 6. Maybe they would house it in a house adjacent to the factory, the Ingram factory downtown. But this house, the Miles Lewis house, the 1801 Miles Lewis house, which had been in the same family for many generations, had just come on the market. And they thought, what better way to showcase clocks that had been actually produced for residential settings than to display them in residential setting.
Oh, let's go to the barn this way and take a look.
Hey guys, Shelly here again, and I'm here to introduce our next song, Life's a Trip by Gracie Muldoon and Tommy Lee Scandora. Take a look.
Top of the world. Life's a trip when you're by my side. There's nothing more that I can say.
So come on, girl, say you'll be my bride. Promise me we'll never change. And when you kiss me, it tingles up my spine, and our hearts become as one. When you're next to me, it messes up my mind.
Life's a trip when you're in love. Trip when you're in love.
Well, we're back. Colleen, what room are we in?
We're actually in the Ebenezer Barnes Memorial Wing here at the museum. And this actually was the first addition to the museum in 1956, financed by Fuller F. Barnes, and it houses the majority of our tall case clocks in the museum.
Was this an extension to the house, or was this actually part of the house? And if it was part of the house, what room would this have been?
Well, it was not part of the house. The original house, they found that they were outgrowing it because
Okay.
the collection at the museum was growing, and so they decided to add this addition. Ebenezer Barnes was believed to be the gentleman who built the first permanent residence here in Bristol in 1728. And the paneling in this room is actually from that original homestead.
Nice.
And as I said before as well, that this is where we house the majority of our tall case clocks. And as Mal had indicated, the clocks in this room, we have a variety of clocks, and the clockworks are maybe just a little different. We have some clockworks that have brass clockworks, and we have some clockworks that are made of wood. And there was a changeover to wood clocks because to make them more affordable.
Good.
At one time, clocks could only be afforded by the very wealthy, and in an effort to make them more affordable, they changed over to wooden works clocks. The only thing that was ever not made of wood would have been the escape clock because it had to be with so much friction to go on the clock.
Our next performer is a young lady from Austria by the name of, God, I didn't think, Yvonne Fischer. Excuse me, Yvonne, for lapse of memory here. And she's actually going to be performing a song called Exhibition. And the video that you will see is an actual virtual tour within a museum with her as the model. So here's Yvonne Fischer performing Exhibition.
Thanks, Ivana. That was great. Did you like that museum trip? It felt like I was really there. Well, let's go back to the Ingram Wing at the American Clock and Watch Museum with my dad and Colleen Nicastro.
Now, you said this is the Ingram part of the museum.
This is the Ingram Wing, and this was added in the late 1980s. And it houses our exhibit about really the evolution of clockmaking, which began, an important piece of that was begun in nearby Plymouth with Eli Terry, and moved on, and he produced what we like to call his famous clock in a box, and if you'll just excuse me, which is actually right here. And you can see it's a very simple clock mechanism, and it's within a box and just a painted glass face. But what he had to do was come up with an idea that would compensate for the lack of height. If you have a tall case, you have that height for the pendulum and for the weights to fall. But he had to come up with an idea where he could actually contain it in a box, and what was he going to do to make up for the height. So what he did, and we've done it here at the museum, we've compensated for lack of height in many of the areas with our tower clocks, where we wind a weight up and over and down and around again, and that's exactly what he did. There's some wheels at the top, and that weight gets wound up and around, and so he has made up for the lack of height. And from there he went on, and many people might recognize something like this, which is the pillar and scroll clock. And that is actually one of the clocks that he became most famous for, is that design of the pillar and scroll clock.
We're going to go to you have another part to this room, even it's partitioned off, so we're gonna move over to the other side. So give us a minute and we'll come back, go to the other side.
Hey guys, I have another song for you by Gracie Muldoon and Tommy Lee Scandora called New Version. Some of the pictures you might have seen before, but it's a good one. Take a look.
Well, not a day goes by without you on my mind. I see you everywhere I go. Well, I got visions of you and me alone. Well, I see you and me happy every day. I find my visions of you take a breath away. Well, I got visions of you and me alone. Well, I went to a shrink. He said I wasn't right. That all I need to do is get you off my mind. Well, I got visions of you and me alone. Didn't wanna let you go. I just don't understand. It seems I cannot please you. Just wanna be your man. Well, I got visions of you and me alone. Alone.
Thanks a lot, guys. That was a good one. Let's head back over to Ingram Wing with my dad.
This case actually features the specialization of clocks and clockworks. As the industry flourished, what was happening was they were making clockworks and then designing a cabinet, much as they did for the tall cases in the past, that would fit that clockworks. As we move on, we move more towards standardization of clocks, whereby they developed one clockworks and then they actually made different clock cases to go along with those. If we move to the third case, then we're talking about the portability of clocks. Once we convinced people that they needed clocks and needed to be actually aware of time, we had the influx of the pocket watches. And not so much the influx because pocket watches had been around for a long time, but certainly the popularity, the growing popularity of keeping portable time with you. And as industry itself grew, whether it was the clock industry or another one, people needed to be on time for work. So it was the alarm clocks that grew in popularity. As we pan around, we can see actually we have a picture of the home of Sessions clocks. In the end, in Bristol, we had basically two surviving clock companies, and that became actually household names, if you will. The Sessions Clock Company and the Ingram Clock Company. As we continue around, we talk about the electricity of clocks and how clocks became electrified. Our end case, then we talk about the industry influence. And that is where we're taking clockworks and we're applying them to different types of products. We're applying them to timing devices for bombs, for wartime. We're applying them to timers for vaults. We're actually also applying them to wind-up toys.
Our next song is Time Machine New York City by David Barry Butler. Let's see if time actually goes anywhere or if it stops.
It happened last May. I was approached in a funny way. He asked me if I wanted to go to another day. I looked into his eyes and I must have seemed surprised. I asked him what I had to do to get that beautiful prize. I'd love to go back to those days of tranquility and the simple ways. I'd love to go back to those simple days. Love to go back to those days. I moved into the Dakotas, an apartment on the Upper West Side that was built in the 1800s, had many things to hide. I changed all my dress and I changed all my roles. Waited very patiently for a drastic change of souls. How I'd love to go back to those days of tranquility and the simple ways. How I'd love to go back to those simple days. Love to go back to those days. There were horses and carriages and manure lined the streets, and the women of the time, they wore their dresses to their feet. They had no telephones and they had no jet planes. The streets, they had no pavement, turned to mud when it rains. How I'd love to go back to those days of tranquility and the simple ways. How I'd love to go back to those simple days. Love to go back to those days. 19 Gramercy Park, her name was Julia, and I knew the year was 1882. But the love was still the same for the two of us. Through the passage of time, it only grew. There it snowed. Simple rows of houses, how many no one knows. Had no computers, had no TV. They lived a life of wonder for all of us to see. How I'd love to go back to the days of tranquility and simple ways. How I'd love to go back to those simple ways. Love to go back to those days. How I'd love to go back to those days.
Thanks, David. All right, come with me one last time to the American Clock and Watch Museum to hang out with Colleen and my dad.
Can you elaborate on what these clocks basically are here?
Okay, this room, when I bring visitors down to this room, I say, there's a number of things in this room that would attract the visitor's eye. We have a display of regulator clocks, which of course always does attract the visitor's eye because the pendulums are filled with mercury. And they are filled with mercury because mercury, of course, is a very stable element, and it doesn't actually flux with the temperature changes, much like the other clocks. And they would have been used actually because of their accuracy. They would have been used in clock and watch repair places. They would have been used in jewelers that would also be repairing things. And so it lends itself to the accuracy of that clock.
Our next performer is a young lady from the Netherlands. Got my mouth working, I'll be fine. Goes by the name of Judy Benschop. The song that she will be performing tonight is a song called Days and Nights. When listening to this song, it just came to me as something pertaining to seeing life, feeling life, living life with oneself and others. So here's Judy Benschop performing Days and Nights.
I've seen days and nights, I've seen seasons pass by, I've seen faces grow old, while children forever young play on the streets outside. I've seen so many tears flowing into the ocean of sadness on earth. My darling, it seems I have lived 1,000 years.
job there, Judy. I see some watches here. I know I'd like to buy one, only because what I see. So, what do I see? I mean, they can't see what we see, but I can see Donald Duck, and I can see Rudolph, and I can see Babe Ruth.
You see a great collection of nostalgia wristwatches. And this, as I had mentioned to you before, I think, this is one of the things that really attracts our visitors. Because people come down here and they linger by these cases because they remember, they're brought back, they're transported to a different time, perhaps in their childhood when they were waiting around for that special holiday present that might come their way, that would include one of these character watches that might have been either a comic character, cartoon character, might have been one of those early television characters, one of the characters that they saw at the movies on a Saturday afternoon, and there definitely is a draw to these cases.
I want one.
But it was a type of industry that actually, I remember as a child too, they came out with the whole Disney princess line, and they had the Cinderella watches that came complete with a statue, so it was a real true collectible.
So, before we get up there, our another performer, a gentleman by the name of David Whalen from Pennsylvania, will be doing a song basically called After All These Years. Enjoy.
You were the girl in high school I wanted to see. I asked for your hand and you said you wanna stay free. My heart was on hold, your fear revealed, afraid to fly. I moved on and never asked you why. After all these years, I never lost touch, but burned out this candle and flame. You may have stayed a small burning ember, but I hoped I'd see you again. Move on with life, whatever we needed to be. Married, kids, bills, responsibility. We kept on pushing, looking for something. It's all clear to me now. We were looking for what we had left behind. Somehow, after all these years, I've never lost touch, but burned out this candle and flame. You may still be a small burning ember, but I hope to see you again. After all these years, there's a room to get back. I hope you don't have any tears. Can we get together? I'd sure like to hear, 'cause it's after all of these years. So take me and love me, tell me all your fears. Hold me and kiss me after all of these years. We found a way to break free and start again. Get in touch with ourselves and try to be happy within. We got together, our spirits set free, sparks did fly.
next two rooms is the exhibit room,
Yes.
and then you got the novelty room.
Yes, we do.
The novelty room astounded me. I'll show you the reason why when we get to that room. So let's go to the exhibition room. Now, this is part of the exhibition room that you have. Would this be called basically exhibition hall?
This is actually the hall where we have our temporary exhibits.
Okay.
So each year when we open for the season, we mount a temporary exhibit that's up for the entire season. This particular 2014 exhibit is Cultivating a Collection, Discovering Treasures. The idea behind the exhibit is that we wanted to talk to collectors and see what the scope of their collection, their personal collection, was, and if indeed they still had that first piece that began their collecting. It was interesting. We have their stories. We have 3 collectors who actually decided that they would participate in this exhibit, and then they brought to us some of those special pieces. Some of them still have their original piece. Some of them have since sold it off because the focus of their collection has changed. But an interesting part of this exhibit is the fact that it gave us, the museum, the opportunity to then segue into displaying some of our recent acquisitions. Certainly, Edward Ingram, who was once the president of the Ingram Clock Company, he was also a clock collector. And because of his love of the industry as well as the love of collecting, he was the founder of this museum. So it was a nice segue to say that Edward Ingram was collector and museum founder. And then we move into the next room, which showcases a lot of our recent acquisitions. Many times people will donate items to the museum, or we will earmark some pieces that would be a great fit in our collection. And what happens is, if we don't have a place to exhibit them right away, they get stored away. So this was a perfect time to bring them out of storage and showcase them.
We got one more room left. It's called a novelty shop. Got my mouth breaking. And I told you before, there's an interesting piece in there that I'll tell you about as soon as we get there. But our last performer is a gentleman that we've dealt with before many times from Northern Ireland. Eamon Curran. He corrected my pronunciation of his first name when we Skyped him. He's going to be doing a song called Through Another's Eyes. Take it away, Eamon. of our tour. So I want to thank Colleen Castro for allowing us, for the length of time we took us to do this whole show. A big thank you from all of us.
Well, we want to thank you as well.
I hope we can do, give credit, do credit, whatever you want to use for a term. I hope we can put this in the spirit that it was meant to be.
Well, certainly this museum is near and dear to our hearts, and we're always happy to share. So if there's something that sparks an interest in your audience and they want to come and visit us, we'd love to have them.
This is not the first time I've been here myself, and I will state that this is a place that, you can come again and again and again, and you miss something the first time, get it the next time. You missed it that time, you get it the third time. Just everything here is for everyone, not just one individual. This is for toddlers up to people like us.
Well, thank you so much for featuring us.
I
We really do
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Big sigh of relief. So, stick around. We still have a little bit more of the show left to go.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us this last hour. I'd like to thank OmnTV, the American Clock and Watch Museum, for the use of their beautiful building, and for Colleen DeCastro for hanging out with my dad today. If you forgive me, I have a long list of performers, so let me read them off real quick. We have David Butler, Ivana Fisher, Judy Benchip, David Whalen, Eamon Karen, Gracie Muldoon, and Tommy Lee Scandora. Thanks a lot, guys. That was really great. And I'd like to thank you guys, the audience. Without you, we wouldn't have a show. Take care and good night.